Sa silangan, isinilang bansa ko mahal. Sa dugong kayo manggitaas notot danggal. Ngunit sa bawat sulok may opisina tayo na may kasagutan kahit walang batayan. Balita sa lansaman, puro sa bayan, walang arisan, batas na agad. Presidential Culture Source. Ang opisina na makakatiwalaan, kahit haka-haka, kahit walang basihan, basta may kapangyarihan. Mula kalye hanggang palasyo, ang kwento'y batas na agad. Pilipino magtanong-tanong, pero bawal magsalungat. Finalan yan, prudensyan, bike pass na agad. Sa isip ng may kapangyarihan, yan na ang atotohanan. Sabi ng opisyal, yan daw ang totoo. Pag may duda ka, ikaw ang kalabaan. Balita sa lansangan, kuro-kuro sa bayan, ngunit sa bawat sulok may opisina tayo nang may kasagutan kahit walang batayan. Balita sa lansangan, kuro-kuro sa bayan, hula ng isa, batas na agad. Ang opisyanan magkakatiwalaan, kahit haka-haka, kahit walang basihan, basta may kapangyarihan. Mula kalye hanggang palasyo, ang kwento'y batas na agad. Pilipino magtanong-tanong, pero bawal magsalungat. Magpipimang siyan, like Coach Heraakek. Sa isip ng may kapangyarihan, yan ang katotohanan. Sabi ng opisyal, yan daw ang totoo. Pag may duda ka, ikaw ang kalabaan. Ngunit tunay na Pilipino, dapat bang maniwala? Di lang haka, di lang hula, bakit nagiging batas bigla? Ang opisina na mapagkatiwalaan, kahit haka-haka, kahit walang basihan, basta may kapangyarihan. Ising mas na!
Yo, ulit tayo kay Peter Cayetano, ha?
Let's say like we arrest someone where the foundations of the Philippine Constitution, that international law forms part of the land of the law. So if there's no conflict, wala tayong problema. Okay. So having said that, one of the fundamental or yung anchors or foundations of the Philippine Constitution, also from the U.S. Constitution, is Section 1 of the Bill of Rights, that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Correct. Nor shall any person be denied equal protection of law. Agree, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So when we arrest someone, we're depriving him of liberty.
Yes, Your Honor.
When we deport someone by virtue of a warrant arrest, let's say like in the case of Congressman Mark Jimenez extradition with the U.S., we're depriving him of liberty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So when we, I don't know, alleged lawful arrest, let me just use it that way while we're determining of Senator
Ano siya? Placeholder. That's a pragmatic label. Yeah, pragmatic label yun. Placeholder.
of former President Duterte, and then putting him to a plane to Hague, we deprived him of liberty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So the next question, was he given due process? So ang sinasabi po ng government, there are two ways: extradition or surrender.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And tama po ba, this law that we're invoking now was passed before we ratified yung ICC?
Yes.
This law was prior to the ICC, no? Judicial Notice, Republic Act
9851.
9851. No? I mentioned that because in the interpellation of, I think it was Senator Gordon and Senator Loren, and then meron din Senator Miriam, it was made clear doon na kailangan magpasan pa ng ibang legislation for the pag mag-a-arrest. Ayan, no? Senator Legarda, so even if the executive ratifies it and we concur on its ratification, and we pass this proposed measure that we are contemplating now, is it not enough to implement the Rome Statute? Mali lang yung records
Pahiya na naman si Ka-Clear dyan. Tingnan natin yung ano niya. Yan,
wrong
maganda yan,
statute nakalagay. Pero mukhang tama din na wrong talaga eh. Pero Rome Statute
Tado rin to eh.
dapat to. Okay. Senator Gordon, yes, it is just like the VFA all over again. It is not enough, Mr. President, because there will be a mechanism upon which we would have to surrender certain nationals who have committed war crimes or violations against covered by the statute.
So, yung mismong yung sa foreigners pa lang, nagkaroon na sila ng issue sa surrender. Right? Sa surrender pa lang. So, ngayon, kung sa surrender pa lang sila nagkaroon ng issue, why would you think na you can just do that with a Filipino citizen? I think that's the premise.
That we have not to be met, no? So meaning, if you take judicial notice of this, while we were passing this law later on, the intent of the legislature was to pass a mechanism for surrender.
Correct.
You can dispute
Yes.
that later on, sir.
Yeah.
And look into it. I don't think we'll finish everything naman today, di ba? Some of this we really have to also consult everyone. No? But having said that, I think the point of the senators there was, klaro kasi extradition. So sa extradition, mako-comply mo yung due process sa Section 1 because you will, tama ba ako, you will be brought before a judge.
Yes po.
Yeah, ibig sabihin pupunta siya ng local court. So, ibig sabihin, no problem. Wala tayong problema doon.
They will
Pero kasi ang iniiwasan nila yun eh. Yun mismo yung iniiwasan nila. Kaya sinasabi lang surrender, right? Pero sinasabi dito, pinas yung law na yun dahil kailangan nilang ng mechanism for the surrender. Okay?
show you the extradition notice and the other papers like the warrant of arrest, and the person being arrested can answer before the judge. Tama
Yes
po ba?
po.
Okay. So let me go to Section 2.
Okay.
The right of the people to be secure
Shout
in their
out sa'yo, Al.
persons, houses, papers, and effects
Shout out
against
ni Vic.
unreasonable searches and seizures of whatever nature and for whatever purpose shall be inviolable. No? So, i-google na lang natin inviolable, but tama ba?
Cannot be violated.
Basically, you cannot violate this. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And no search warrant or warrant of arrest shall issue except upon probable cause to be determined personally by the judge and after examination under oath or affirmation of the complainant and the witness he may produce, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Okay. Mas bata ka ba sa akin?
Really, shout out.
1970 ako pinanganak.
Matanda na po ako.
So,
Yeah.
halos magka-age tayo.
Hindi po, mas matanda po ako.
Mas matanda ka ng kwat. Sorry, mas mukha kang bata sa akin. But, no, the point is, because medyo middle kaming pinanganak nun, I think mas ka-age ko si Gilbert, no? So, ang alam ko lang, by the time kasi I got to law school, 87, 97 ako.
Yeah,
Where they-
puwera sa kwento.
They had different kinds of warrant of arrest, including yung ASO and whatever, which were all legal during that time. I'm not judging that time. I'm just saying, both under martial law, the former constitution, jurisprudence, going from the Spanish to the Japanese period, to the American period, to our independence. So in the wisdom of the Filipino people, pinasa to na except, ang alam ko lang exception, there may be one or two, but alam ko exception yung sinabi mong deportation, because when they come in, hindi na kailangan pumunta sa judge, immigration officials can
Yeah.
can deport or arrest them, di ba? Pero otherwise, hindi pwedeng si SOJ, DILG,
I-bypass
hindi
yung court.
pwedeng si Secretary, no matter how brilliant Secretary Gibo is, when he's in the
Tropa mong
the
mahaba
military
bago
can
sa
only
kwento.
arrest their personnel, no, under certain codes, di ba? But he cannot issue a warrant of arrest, di ba? So the safeguard of each and every Filipino sa due process is you're brought before a judge, and due process is one, yung nakalagay dito, that you're informed about the nature of and the words is
Check and balance kasi yon kasi ngayon kaya naging bullshit eh. Ngayon nag-damage control sila doon sa doon sa competent judicial authority. Na nag-damage control sila doon kasi ikaw na yung nag-serve tapos ikaw pa yung mag-certify. O ano yun? Ano katrantaduhan yun? Hindi pwede yun. Kaya nga check and balances eh. 'Di ba? So, ibig sabihin, merong independent dapat na mag-check nun. Kasi conflict of interest yon. Tapos ngayon, ang mangyayari dito, yung Interpol ngayon, yun yung Pinoy din. Nakakatalaga lang. Eh, yun nga yung problema eh. Conflict of interest. Puro conflict of interest. Puro ano eh. Puro self-serving yung ano eh. Di ba? Parang, parang sila din yung suminghot ng utot nila, ganun.
In
Segregation of duties. Hindi lang segregation of duties eh. Yeah, segregation of duties as an necessary consequence of it. But the goal here is to avoid abuse. And para magkaroon ng fairness. Hindi naman pwede ako yung makikipag-debate as ako rin yung judge. Diba? Ako yung makikipag-debate. Ako yung isa sa mga sabihin natin ako sa pro. Tapos ako rin yung judge. Hindi pwede yun. Of course, ang favorite charity ko is myself. Nakanin ko sarili ko. You did a good job. Of course, I did a great job. What do you mean good job? It's great, dude. +1 for me. Check and balances, yes. Need nila bumalik sa civic class nila. Correct.
anong 12. Yan. Sa section 12, any person under investigation for the commission of offense shall have the right to be informed of his right to remain silent and have competent and independent counsel preferably of his choice. Yan po, General Torre, yung Miranda rights na binasa mo kay former President Duterte. Tama po, no? I didn't see the whole video eh. I just heard SILG said that there's a whole video, but I only saw sa internet, pero nakita ko binasahan. Okay. Pero nakalagay dito,
Ay, kayo permission to gamit ng song mo. Anong song? Be specific.
okay. If he cannot afford, he can be given a counsel, so may question ako later on dyan. Okay, but on section 14, eto, in all criminal prosecution, the accused shall be presumed innocent until contrary is proved, and shall enjoy the right to be heard by himself and counsel. Ito importante, to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation against him, and then to have a speedy trial, no? So meaning, the more you have to explain yung cause at yung nature kung foreign, because you're not familiar with their laws compared sa laws natin. So for example, in the case of
Yeah. Makes sense actually. So ito lang gusto niya sabihin. Kapag familiar ka sa mga kaso, like for example dito sa crimes sa Pilipinas, mas konti yung kailangan mo i-explain or pwedeng alam niya na, so it doesn't matter, right? Pero pag international laws, kailangan mo siyang i-explain kasi hindi siya aware dito. Kasi dito, marami nang nauhuli. At alam na natin, nababalita na sa atin for something like that. So, accustomed na tayo sa mga ganong klaseng batas. And not only that, we are actually required to know our laws, di ba? Kasi ignorance excuses no one nga eh. So, ibig sabihin, you should know your laws. But, hindi international law. So, ibig sabihin, kung ang grounding ng paghuli sa iyo is actually international law, you have to explain that. Nagigas nyo? I think that's the grounding eh.
Jimenez, he questioned the extradition request before a Philippine judge. I googled it, nakalagay pa nga doon. Nagrereklamo siya, mas atat pa daw yung Pilipino na extradite siya kaso sa Amerikano. I don't even know it's true, no? But my question is, sir, so is it your proposition that if we surrender without an arrest from a Philippine judge, we're denying him due process? That's my words based on Section 1, but feel free to
Para, literal hulidap. Parang hulidap talaga.
use your
Oo.
words.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I agree. Basically, the principle involved here is due process. I think a lot of commentators have already pointed out the requirement of adherence to the principle of due process. So whatever it is that the government is action is taking that would deprive a person of life, liberty, or process or property, it has to go through a certain process. It's called procedural due process.
Yeah.
If it's a crime, it's a criminal due process. It's a procedural due process requires opportunity to be heard, reasonable opportunity to be heard by and in an impartial or before an impartial tribunal.
Which is the court. Right? Okay.
And in criminal law, both procedural and substantial due process are essential. Not only
Yes,
important,
yes.
but are essential,
Yes.
di ba?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
in let's say, other cases, kung magkamali ng konti sa procedure, it's repairable. Pero sa criminal law, na-accuse ka na mali, kambal mo pala yon, or nung pinasa yung batas na yon, hindi pa pala crime, and then you weren't informed, fatal yon. So much so, that meron ngang doctrine of the poisonous tree, di ba? That if yung evidence that were taken from you
Illegally.
were illegally obtained, ni hindi pwedeng
Wala na.
gamitin against you. Is my recollection of the law. You're a professor, so you continually review this. I don't continually review you do this, no, but I should, of course.
I agree, Senator. The rule is the exclusionary rule for violation of the right against
Yeah.
unreasonable searches.
I was just
seizures.
emphasizing how important the procedural due process is because my next question, sinabi mo nga reasonable time, di ba?
Re-
So
reasonable opportunity po.
reasonable opportunity, which includes reasonable time, right?
Opo.
Because even if you can run to court,
necessarily follows, yeah.
if you give the court 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, it's not for us because wala namang Supreme Court regulation or batas na nagsasabing the writ of habeas corpus has to be issued in 12 hours or 1 day or etc. Diba? So you give reasonable time. So can I just
Tsaka hindi naman speedy,
interject one
speedy trial yun.
question kay General Torre? So sir, when
Ito
you...
na, Tore. Ito, maangas to eh. Maangas tong isang to. Kita mo naman eh. Nung una, okay pa ako sa kanya sa KOJC eh. Nandun pa ako sa side niya. I sympathize with him. Pero this, mayabang. Ang yabang.
read the Miranda rights, did you
Alam mo
explain...
yun parang, akala mo matapang yung mga DDS. Trantado ka ba? Sinaservan mo rin yung mga yun? Kahit DDS pa yung leche ka, you serve those people too. Ano ba yan? Pulis ka ba talaga?
explain the nature and cause of the yung of the crime that he's
Bonnet gang, oh.
being accused of?
Yes, sir. It is on record and caught on video, sir.
Yeah, sorry about the... I don't know lang kasi about the record, so I'm not doubting you.
Yes, sir.
Ang napanood ko lang kasi yung standard Miranda rights that
Yes, sir.
you have. So, how did you read to him yung nature and cause? It's sa warrant or you...
Yes, sir. I read
narrate-
from the warrant, sir. It
From
was
the warrant.
extracted from the warrant by the DOJ.
So you read to him the warrant. Around
Yes.
what time po yun? More or less.
Mga around before lunchtime, sir.
Kaso doon sa
So nung hinuli mo pa lang, binasa nyo na sa kanya yung warrant?
binasa.
Kasi yung nakita namin video, sir, sa airport, the wife of former ES Miguel Dia was asking nga, di ba? And Ma'am Hanilet was also asking. At sinabi nyo, I don't know what you answered, but basically hindi nyo pa pinakita yung warrant nun, di ba?
Nung yung mga video na yun, sir, gabi na yun, sir. Tapos na ang lahat na yun, sir. Paulit-ulit na lang, inuulit-ulit
No,
na lang
what I
yun,
was
sir.
saying is that ang nakita kong video, yung palabas pa lang sila, and you were informing him naman na meron warrant, di ba?
Palabas sa tube, sir.
Sa tube. Oo.
Nung palabas sa tube, sir, when the party of the former president is going out of the tube, doon, sir, sa mismong junction ng tube at saka yung moving junction, sir, ng tube, he was already met by PG who attempted to read him his rights.
Okay.
And they said, wag na, pababain natin ang tension, doon na lang sa 250th.
Okay, so they attempted
wing,
to
sir.
read him his right. And dala nila yung warrant nun, hindi pa?
Yes, sir. Dala
So doon palang tinry?
na, sir.
Dala na nila?
They will not
So yung
go out of
issue
the
na
plane.
walang dala, that's not true kasi dala nila.
Hindi sila lalabas sa plane, sir. Yung ang kondisyon nila. Hindi kami lalabas sa plane pag wala yung warrant.
Warrant.
And
So
it was
nandun
shown
yung
to them.
warrant. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So did you or any of the people who were serving
Okay.
the warrant explain to him the elements of the crime?
Yes, sir. The whole
So
warrant
what
Tama. Tingnan yung tanong, ha?
you or any of the people who were serving the warrant explain to him the elements of the crime?
Did you explain the elements of the crime? O, yan natin yan. Walis ka muna dyan, go pogi.
Of the crime?
O, yan, ha?
Yes, sir. The whole
Yes, sir daw, ha? Yes, sir daw. Oh.
So
warrant was
are
actually given to them.
So just because it's simple naman, what are the elements of the crime against humanity na may murder? If you explain to him, then you can explain to me, di ba? So
Correct.
what's the elements?
During the time, sir, it was not me who the
So, hindi na ikaw. Ang tanong, did you read the elements? So, hindi na ikaw. Okay, sige, hindi na ikaw.
who attempted the reading of the rights. It
Nung
was
una. Okay, fine.
the prosecutor general.
Yes, sir. But sabi mo, you know the elements of the crime.
I read to him in toto what was written
Yes.
on the warrant, sir.
I read the warrant. Wala doon yung elements of the crime.
So boom. So, hindi mo alam yung elements of the crime, right? Can I call a friend?
We did not say that I know the elements, sir. I just
You just said it. Here.
Serving the warrant. Explain to him the elements of the crime.
Yes, sir. The
Oh. Sinungaling pa mo. Napakasinungaling nyo kasi. Pag hindi nyo alam, okay na yun. Oh.
Warrant. Wala doon yung elements of the crime.
we did not say that I know the elements, sir. I just
Yes.
read to
You did. You did say it.
him exactly
So-
the charges in accordance with what is written in the
Yes, sir.
warrant.
I'm not arguing on the opinion and the legal kasi ito factual pa lang. But my point is, when you arrest a Filipino citizen for theft, for inciting to sedition, etc., meron po tayong legal maxim that ignorance of the law
Yeah, more like history nandun sa warrant kung bakit na
is not an excuse thereof. So, we are, as Filipino citizens, dapat alam natin yung law.
Correct,
di ba?
correct.
So, pag inarrest mo yung isang tao, ano yan, bagransya. Sandali lang.
This is a very good point actually. Nag-a-apply lang yun yung ignorance of the law, excuses no one, sa local laws natin, right? Kasi nandito tayo sa Pilipinas eh. Pero it doesn't apply sa international law, right? Kasi sa Pilipinas tayo, is international law, right? Nagigets nyo? Kaya, that's a very good point eh. That's a very good argument. Now, you can now have excuse ng ignorance of the law of the international. Because you're in the Philippines. Kailangan mo lang malaman, ang kailangan mong alam na law is yung local laws. Ngayon, since I can be ignorant of the international laws, then you have to explain it to me while serving the warrant. Cool. That's right. Amazing.
Sir, na-repeal na yung bagransya, hindi na ano yan. But I'm arresting you for what? For theft. You don't need to read the elements because alam na ng Pilipino yung nature and yung cause nung theft. But
Yeah, oo. Dapat nga Interpol ang nag-serve
since this
ng
is a
warrant.
foreign court, and it's not even in the Rome Statute, yung elements. It was passed later on. So ang point ko, was the accused, in this case former president, aware of what he was being accused of? So I'll stop there, sir. Factual lang naman, and I take your answer that it was the
Diyan pumasok yung lagi sinasabi ni Atty. Libayan kung dapat talaga dumaan sa competent judicial authority. Correct.
warrant was there, it was read to him, and there are different. I won't go to them now. I'm just making the point that even if you serve the warrant, kung hindi niya alam at hindi alam ng lawyer niya, how do you expect him to run to court for to get legal remedy? So, going back, Attorney Alexis, sir, so is the ability to seek legal remedy part of due process? Meaning, if you deny me, if you're accusing me of something, my warrant of arrest, and you don't allow me to go to Philippine courts, is that denying you due process?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Boom.
You due process?
Absolutely, Your Honor. without casting any aspersion on the character or competence of the officials involved.
Yeah, I'm asking
In
a
the-
general question. I think
the question
SOJ
that you
naman is
posed, yes.
listening and they will answer. So going back to surrender. So if my foreign court ngayon, I look, I have it somewhere here, pasensya na kayo magulo. Senator Trillanes was saying in May 2024 na 3 batches of warrants to. First daw is si PRD, after that daw Senator Bato, Senator Bongo, etc.
Oo, yeah, yung sinabi kasi ni Bongo na parang wala nang ano yung Senate hearing. Actually, meron pa kasi yung mga susunod, no?
And then sa third batch, military and police officials. So,
Oo, di ba? Talagang iisa-isa na talaga sa ICC, no?
So, I agree with Senator Bongo na wala na tayong magagawa in the sense na
Kinigo.
nandiyan na si PRD. But I disagree na hindi importante itong hearing kasi kung may second, third, fourth batch pa yung warrants, it's important. And take note ha, tama po
I agree.
ba ako, during the time that the Marawi uprising or the Marawi siege, Secretary Anyo, we were still under ICC noon, no? Kasi that was
Correct.
tama po, 'di ba? When we were in Russia. So you know, if a terrorist who survived goes to the ICC and shows them pictures of 19 women or children that were died and comes up with a witness and tells them, alam nyo, from President Duterte to Sec Anyo to the Chief of Staff to ganito, they planned this, they killed this ganito. It may be not true, it may be totally
nakita ko
false.
na lemon.
So if the ICC issues a warrant here, I want to make sure that every officer of the AFP has his day in court before they're sent to Hague. So valid itong hearing na to. As I said, may emotions lang and you know, let's excuse all of ourselves kung minsan may konting emotion, but we just want to clarify this. So
Okay,
yun yung context ng tanong ko, Tony Alexis, no? So kung halimbawa may warrant for whatever for Juan de la Cruz, kinuha siya based on that warrant, pero hindi siya binigyan ng enough time or enough opportunity before a Philippine judge, aren't we denying him due process? Because pagdating dun sa foreign court, as SOJ said correctly, and I agree with him, iba language, iba procedure, and everything.
Tsaka wala na silang pakialam dito kung paano mo inaresto. Actually, siguro may hypocrisy sa side nila na for human rights kayo pero willing kayo na gawin to. That's a controversy, I guess. Pero wala na silang pakialam nga kung paano hinuli dito, sinurrender sa kanila, right? So, yun nga yung sinasabi ko, na kasi yun talaga yung goal. Ang goal kasi is dalhin talaga lang siya doon. Bahala na kung ano yung mano dito, sagutin na lang nila dito. Lulusutan na lang nila dito. Kasi kailangan mapunta doon para lahat ng ano dito is magiging moot and academic na lang. Kasi si PRRD naman talaga target nila simulat sa pool. So, sinacrifice nila yon at yun talaga yung mission ni Torre.
So isn't a Filipino citizen, doesn't he have the right under the Constitution to be judged first by Philippine law before he's brought out to a foreign country or to an international tribunal to face what their interpretation of the law is?
If I may answer,
Yes.
Your Honor, if you look at the consistent policy of the Constitution, when there is a deprivation of liberty, the consistent policy of the Constitution is to involve the judiciary. The exclusion, complete exclusion of the judiciary in the deprivation of liberty of any citizen is anathema to the principles of the
Anathema.
Constitution. And you can see that in the different provisions of the Constitution. You can see that in the requirements for the warrant of arrest, due process,
Kumbaga sa mag-asawa jargon is better to say sorry than
liberty of abode,
Yeah,
criminal
ganon.
proceeding, criminal due process, even in the
ang gulo magpaliwanag niya, sayang panood kaya yan din yung sinabi mo kanina. Paki-regulate nga niyang yung speech niya ni Darwin R. Kasi wala kang ebidensya na magulo akong magpaliwanag. Sinisiraan mo ko, negative yung sinasabi mo. Ang sabi ni Yusek Claire Castro, malinaw na paninira yan. Fake news, i-regulate. I-regulate yan.
period when the privilege of the writ of habeas
Ah,
corpus
lamunin niyo yung kagustuhan ng Yusek nyo. Yusek pala natin yun. Nang ka-clear nyo. Lamunin nyo, ha? Namnamin nyo. Ang sarap, di ba? Oh.
Tapos he suspended the Constitution mandates the government to file charges against the person. So,
Ma'am, last two
always.
questions. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last
Thank
two
you po.
questions or three then opportunity for SOJ. No? So, yung pong... nagugulat ako kasi even those who claim to be human rights activists, pinopost nila to sa Facebook. Again, hindi ko nila lahat. I admire many human rights activists, but even some na very well known, no? If I'm not mistaken, even former Senator De Lima, more or less may ganitong tema. Bakit? Si Duterte ba may alam na due process nung pinatay silang mga to? 'Di ba? Bakit siya ngayon humihingi ng due process? So,
Which is alam natin na fallacy yun, di ba?
my next question is due process only for the innocent? Only for the saints?
Sabi ko nga, kung lahat ay kailangan bigyan ng due process, hypocrisy is not an argument against the premise na lahat yung due process is para sa lahat. My hypocrisy doesn't affect the conclusion. The only way to affect the conclusion is a false premise. Nag-guess niyo yun, guys? Kaya, ito yung mga human rights advocate na to na sinasabi nilang, bakit ka ganyan, yung kino-call out nila yung hypocrisy ni Duterte, ganyan naman talaga sila. Pati nga si Yusek Castro, di ba, puro patos. Logical argument, no, basura na natin yan sa kanila. Puro sila emotional appeal. Kasi yung hypocrisy is an emotional appeal. Kapag gumamit ang isang tao ng argumento ng emotional, they're manipulating you. Always remember that. That's why we are sticking on the logical side of things. Because my hypocrisy doesn't affect the conclusion of my argument. The only way to affect that conclusion is through false premises. Not my hypocrisy. Kaya nga lagi ko ina-example dito, 1 plus 1 equals 2 kahit sa pakimpa kita sa mukha. Gets nyo na? Kahit sa puking kita dyan, kahit gulping kita dyan, 1 plus 1 equals 2 pa rin. Kahit si Hitler pa nagsabi niyan. Walang kinalaman yung pagsapa ko sa iyo sa mukha doon sa truth ng 1 plus 1 equals 2. Kaya yung hypocrisy ko has nothing to do with my conclusion. Ayun yung ibig sabihin ng issue, hindi tao. Kasi kapag ginamit na ng isang vlogger o ng Yusek yung hypocrisy ng isang tao, ad hominem na yun. Ang alam lang yata nilang ad hominem is yung magsabi ka ng tanga, magsabi ka ng bobo, yun yata yung alam nila. Hindi nga ad hominem yun eh, insulto yun. Sabi nung dyan nag-comment naka-clear, ang hilig daw mag-name calling na side natin. Nag-fall daw under argumentum ad hominem. Sabi ko, nabasa mo ba yung argumentum? O bobo ka pala eh. Name calling is not an argument, stupid. Paano siya mapasok sa argumentum ad hominem? Kailangan mong gamitin yung name calling as an argument to invalidate the argument of the other side. Kaya mo siya matawag na ad hominem. Naintindihan nyo ba? Yung pag-ano ng hypocrisy na isang tao, ad hominem yung tanga. Naigits nyo ba? Kapag may nagsalita, tingnan mo, nagsasabi siya ng corruption, bakit yung confidential niya? Ad hominem yun. Super weird na sila yung nagsasabi ng katotohanan lang tayo. For some reason, Pag sinabi lang katotohanan lang tayo, it adds something sa claim nila, sa argument nila. And then at the same time, sila yung nagsasabi na hindi sila nag-ad hominem, but they're doing it every day without them knowing. Or maybe they're just lying. Kapag sinabi mo, sinabi na kailangan natin ayusin yung corruption. Bakit? Yung confidential funds. O anong kinalaman nun sa conclusion niya? Tama ba yung argumento niya? Kung agree ka, so walang kinalaman yun sa confidential funds. That's another topic. Kapag ginamit mo yon to invalidate his claim, her claim, ad hominem yun. Ano pa sinabi ni De Lima? O ikaw, Peter Cayetano, you are the last person na magsasabi kung anong dapat naming gawin sa human rights. Nasaan ka? Nung pinagtutulungan nila ako sa Senado. Anong kinalaman nun? Sa mga saktan po pagsabihan ni Kayo ng bobo, hindi po yun argument, fact po yun. Naintindihan nyo? Yung mga argumentong yon ay appeal to emotion. Kapag ang tao gumamit ng appeal to emotion, tapos na usapan, itaas nyo na ang wall nyo. Bakit? They're trying to manipulate you. Yung mga nagsasabing dito lang tayo sa katotohanan, pero walang argumento, red flag. Yung mga nagsasabing hindi nag-ad hominem, and yet, they're using the character of the person they're criticizing to invalidate their claim, that's ad hominem. Check nyo lang. Check nyo lang. Kaya yung mga yan, i-analyze nyo sila ng logical arguments. Huwag kayo magpadala sa emotion. Pag nagpadala kayo sa emotion, that's your fault. Ikaw yung bobo. God bless sa inyo lahat.
Feeling mo ba medyo sketchy ang justice system sa lugar mo?
Justice in the country is kind of questionable.
Nangangamba ka ba na biglang magka-free travel abroad nang walang paalam mula sa local court mo?
Sa atin, may masama ba na ang DOJ ang nagsilbi bilang competent judicial authority?
Hindi exclusive kay Digong yan.
Bibit-bitin mo siya physically papunta sa plane.
Baka ikaw na ang next lucky winner. Tingnan mo si former President Duterte. Hindi siya ready sa surprise state kidnapping. Sa mundong puro plot twist, hindi mo alam kung kailan ikaw ang bida o kontrabida. Kaya dapat laging handa dahil baka ikaw na ang susunod na contestant sa ICC Got Talent. Introducing Interpol Kit, ang ultimate emergency bag. Always packed, always ready. Just in case bigla kang isama sa isang government-chartered flight. Remember,
Yes, because we believe in the Interpol.
in Interpol we trust. Ito na ang ultimate survival bag para sa mga unexpected government-sponsored vacations. Interpol Kit. Dahil sa panahon